of the best exemplary practices of leadership so that others choose to do the same. We can lead it and model it. That's the key. So I'm going to give you 4 seconds. I'm going to flash a collage up on the screen here. In those 4 seconds, there's 30 objects. You need to memorize every single one of them. You have 4 seconds. Are you ready? Or as many as you can. You ready, Ted? Sure. 4, 3, 2, 1. All right, here we go. So name one thing. Is it Steve? Shane? Name one thing that you saw in the collage, Shane. Who saw a panda bear by show of hands? I'd say half the room. One thing that you saw. Baby. Who saw a baby? Oh my Lord, everybody saw the baby. One thing that you saw, Chris? Who saw Marlboro cigarettes? A third of the room. One thing that was not mentioned? Chopsticks. Who saw chopsticks? 6 people. One thing that you saw? Who saw pizza? You're hungry. I'd say 20% of the room. Let's take 3 or 4 more. One thing that you saw that wasn't mentioned. Who saw Coke? Wow, they do a good job at branding. A lot of hands went up. One thing that you saw, you got them all? One thing. Who saw a cruise ship? I'd say 20% of the room. Let's take 2 more. Yes, sir. Who saw a car? Who knows what kind it was? There you go. Good job. One more thing. Okay, one thing that wasn't mentioned? Pardon me? Toblerone chocolate. Oh, you're still hungry. Uh-oh, get that lunch ready. One more that wasn't mentioned. Who saw a guitar? Okay, about 5% of the room. So here's a question I have for all of you in the room. Why did you individually, you personally, why did you see what you saw? Why did you see what you saw?
I think it was based on what we were familiar with.
Familiarity, something I'm familiar with. Why did you see what you saw, Jefferson?
Maybe colors?
Colors, yeah, absolutely. Colors draw eyes. Why did you see what you saw?
I lingered on something that I really
You lingered. Okay, that's good. I like that term, by the way. Why did you see what you saw?
It was there.
Because it was there. Anybody use a process, start from the outside, look in? You know, by the way, what's your first name again?
Ted.
Ted, why did you see what you saw?
Because you stood there.
Yeah, I stood in front of Ted. I saw the veins popping. He's like, get out of my way. I got a task to do here. I did that for a reason. Where you're seated in the room impacts what you see, right? And I did that for a reason. Is where you're seated in this organization, does that impact the way you see the operation? Have any of you been put into a new role or new responsibility and you suddenly see things completely different? Yeah, you have a brand new perspective. Were any one of you in this room able to identify all 30 objects? No, but if we kept going, we would have got them all. So you tell me what's the learning there? If no one person is able to see the full reality, what's the learning? The only way you can see your full reality, first key to accountability, recognize your reality. The only way you can see your full reality is to rely upon others' perspectives, open and candid feedback, open and candid conversations, talking about the elephant in the room. It's the 5 best practices under recognized realities. I don't care how educated you are, how smart you are, no one person can see all there is to see. If you only see what you alone can see, you're not seeing all there is to see. It sounds a little strange, but if you go through life with the blinders on and you only see it your way, you're setting yourself up to fail. Nobody mentioned the carry-on bag. What if that was a huge opportunity or possibility, but we didn't see it because there's no open and candid conversation, there's no feedback, there's no asking for perspectives, there's no talking about the elephant in the room, and we missed it. More dangerously, what if it was a huge hazard and we didn't see it? It's those 5 best practices that allow us to move forward. A single perspective, if you only see things your way, is the enemy of reality. No one person can see a full reality. You need to depend upon the team. And seeing it has more to do with our ears than it does with our eyes. It's about communication. It's about open and honest communication, being open to perspectives of others, asking for and offering feedback, talking about the elephant and tough realities. Like accountability, oftentimes the perception in organizations that we work with, the perception of feedback is somewhat negative, and we say, well, why is that? And sometimes we're told, well, Mike, we're all so busy here that the only time we really have to give feedback is after somebody does what? So if somebody does something wrong, that's when we give feedback. Think back to the model earlier. If the experience we're creating is we only do feedback when someone screws up, No wonder people begin to have this belief that it's going to be negative, so the action is we avoid it. But we know, all of us, since our first job, we're told, get feedback, 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 but yet it's not done nearly as often as it should be. And when it's done, it's usually done the wrong way. Have you ever heard the term constructive criticism? It's an oxymoron. Throw it out of your vocabulary. To construct is to build up, to criticize is to tear down. What if you just got this email from your boss after this session, and here's what it said? Yeah, why do so many people of us our guts like, oh, this is going to be bad? It could be about a promotion. So, by the way, we talked about this earlier. When you get feedback, don't filter it. You're the one that made the person think what they think. You need to own it. So don't put it through any filters. Here's some examples of filters people will use when they get feedback. Just listen to the feedback. Don't get defensive. Don't say you misinterpreted that. Don't disagree. Don't get argumentative. Next time somebody gives you feedback, just consider that question. Is it a belief I want that person to have about me? And if your answer to your question is, no, I don't want that person thinking that, you need to take accountability to create a new experience. If you ask the question and you decide, I don't really care if they think that, then move on with your life. But don't argue. Don't filter. Just next time you get feedback from a significant other, from a kid, somebody in your family, some of friends, one of your colleagues, just consider that a belief I want that person to have. And if you don't, create a new experience to shift it. Because they're going to keep on thinking it until you do. And again, no constructive criticism. It's not, here's what you're doing right and wrong, good and bad, positive and negative. The next time you give feedback to somebody, it's here's what you're doing well, appreciative, and here's what I think you can do to be better, constructive, appreciative, constructive. And you don't put the appreciative in there to be manipulative in any way. When you give people genuine, authentic, appreciative feedback, they will demonstrate the behavior more often and to a deeper degree. Think about the last time somebody gave you appreciative, genuine appreciative feedback. You're probably thinking every time you see them, wow, they really like when I do this. And you do it more. So Ted, suppose you're on my team and I tell you, I give you some feedback. I say, hey Ted, I love the fact that when we have team meetings, you're always on time, you're organized, and you really contribute to the meeting. I really appreciate that. What do you think Ted's thinking the next time I call a team meeting? Hey, Mike really likes when I'm on time, I contribute, and I'm organized. So you do it more. It's the way we guide and mentor our children. In fact, speaking of children, here's an example. I remember teaching, my kids are older now, but I remember teaching them to walk. And I imagine some of you have some young kids at home. But I remember they're standing in front of you. Mine used to hold onto my fingers. They're like bouncing. They can't wait to take that first step. They take that step and what do? Fall, boom. Do you boo them? Boo, that ain't walking, kid. Get up, you slacker. I've been walking 50 years. That's not it. No, you don't boo them. You give them appreciative and constructive feedback. You say, hey, here's what you're doing really well. Keep doing that. And here's what you can do to be better. Take your time. Move slower. Keep your balance. It's the combination of appreciative and constructive feedback that moves people forward. Here's the key. When you give appreciative and constructive feedback, the one word you never put between the two is what? If you insert the word but, you become Charlie Brown's teacher. Blah, 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 blah. They will tune you out. It's simply, here's what you're doing well. Keep doing that. Here's what I think you can do to be better. Try that too. We call that watering what you want to see grow. So here within Intel, you can think about maybe your leadership competencies. When you see somebody display, if you have them, if you see somebody displaying your leadership competencies, give appreciative and constructive feedback. How about your values here, Intel's values? Or if you truly want to cultivate a culture of accountability, anytime you see anybody demonstrating any of these best practices, give appreciative and constructive feedback. Maybe start on just a set of 5 weekly, just zero in. Get people focused on the behaviors you want to see that if we do more of that, it helps us become a more effective team.